Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the annual council meeting, 16th of June 2020. A rather unusual meeting. We're not all face to face. For some, that may be a benefit. For others, it's a disappointment. Can I ask you to ensure that all mobile devices are turned off? That's Alexas, Google Boxes, mobile phones. Also, if you're not speaking or being asked to speak, can you please mute your microphones? If you do not mute your mic, it could be muted for you. To assist people viewing the meeting, could everyone turn off their cameras and only turn them on when speaking? To ensure the smooth running of the meeting, could members wishing to speak please use the hands up facility on the Teams whenever possible? I'm now going to introduce everybody who's in the meeting. First of all, Councillor Abdul Loys, Councillor Andrew Mickleborough, Andrew Moulton, Andy Croy, Angus Ross, bear with me as I move the list down, Anne Hunter, one moment, be with you in a minute, get there in a minute, you bear with me. Bit early to ask for a comfort break, but nevertheless. Okay, Anne Hunter, Barry Patman, Callum Wernham, Carl Doran, Councillor Carl Doran, Carol Camis, Councillor Caroline Smith, Councillor Charles Margetts, Councillor Charlotte Haytham-Taylor, Councillor Chris Bowring, Councillor Clive Jones, Councillor Stephen Conway, Councillor Daniel Sargent, Councillor Diane King, Councillor Gary Cowan, and we have also Councillor Adrian Mather, Angus Ross, Councillor, Chris Bowring, Councillor, Councillor Chris Smith, Councillor David Hare, and Councillor Emma Hobbs, and Councillor Imogen Shepherd-Dubé, and Councillor Jim Fruin. If I've missed anybody, I'm sorry. Sorry, I don't think I've included Councillor Alison Swaddle, who has just appeared. Who have I missed also?
Prue Bray.
Councillor Prue Bray.
Hiya, Mayor.
Councillor Maria G.
Councillor Maria G.
Jenny Leah Simons.
Councillor Pauline. And
everybody that wasn't L after L. Everybody after L.
Everybody after L. I'm not going any lower than that on my list at the moment. My computer won't go down any lower. So if I have missed anybody, could you please introduce yourselves?
Oliver Whittle.
Yes.
One at a time.
Jenny Cheng.
Sarah
Michael Furniture.
Hiya, Mayor.
This is where it gets difficult.
Graham Howe.
Keith.
Yeah.
Wayne Smith.
Pauline Simons. Pauline York.
Rachel Bishop Firth.
Good.
Michelle Shepherd-Dubé.
Councillor Rachel Burgess.
Councillor Richard Dolinsky.
And Councillor Guy Grandison. I think I was the last one.
And Stuart Munro.
Have you got Jenny Cheng?
Yes, I got Jenny Cheng. We heard Jenny Cheng. Thank you.
Oliver Whittle.
Oliver Whittle.
Harry Bart.
And Alice me.
Oh, yeah.
Alison Swaddle.
I mentioned Alison Swaddle. Managed to get you. Simon Weeks. We got.
Yeah, did you get me as well? Michael Furniture.
Yeah, Michael Furniture.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you got me. I'm Lindsay here.
Lindsay. Stuart Munro. I don't think I got.
You didn't. No, thank you.
No.
Shirley Boyd.
Shirley Boyd. How did I miss so many? I've got a list here that tells me who's here, who's in. Never mind, as long as you've all been mentioned. Thank you very much. Could you then again turn your cameras off, please? Thank you very much. We will now hold a minute's silence for those who have died or suffered as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Would you please join me? Thank you. Thank you very much. Right, come to the next item on the agenda, which gives me the opportunity to review my 12 months as Mayor of Wokingham Borough. After a considerable thought, I've come to the conclusion that a 12-month term as Mayor is too short. At the end, you realise that you've just about got your head around what you're supposed to be doing, and then it's all over. But then again, having given greater thought, perhaps it's for the best. After numerous buffets, afternoon teas, canapes and dinners, I've realised that it's become increasingly difficult to do up the top button of my shirt. And as for the waistband, well, just forget it. Over the past 12 months, it has been an honour and a privilege to be Mayor of such a wonderful borough as Wokingham. During that 12 months, I've had the pleasure of meeting truly amazing people in many different walks of life. I've gained a wider understanding of the diverse and ethnic and religious groups that make up our residents. I've enjoyed meeting with the many voluntary organisations that give up their time and do so much to enhance the lives of so many, particularly during the COVID epidemic. I've had the opportunity to meet with members of our emergency services who, over the past 4 months, have gone above and beyond their normal duties to see us through difficult times. At many of the civic functions I've attended, I've had the pleasure of meeting the fellow members of what are called the Chain Gang, our neighbouring mayors and mayoresses, and formed, I hope, lasting friendships, regardless of any political differences. This year has been particularly interesting for me, with the chance to open many new businesses who've seen the benefits of coming to the regenerated Wokingham Town Centre. A new hotel, a cinema, major supermarket chain, many small and independent shops that help to make shopping in Wokingham a unique experience. Add to this the opening of leisure facilities, the refurbished Loddon Valley Leisure Centre and the Elmsfield Playground, just to mention those two. The rebuilding of Bournemouth Leisure Centre was particularly interesting, having visited throughout the various stages, from demolition of the old to the construction of the new, and it was a shame that due to the virus I was unable to finally open it. Perhaps one of the memories that will stay with me forever is the most traumatic. My representing the borough at the funeral of PC Andrew Harper in Oxford. A very sad occasion which brings home the vulnerability of our police in their daily lives and the sacrifices they make to ensure our safety. At the beginning of the year, I announced my charity that I would be supporting. I chose one that was dear to my heart, Deborah. Deborah supports children and their families who suffer from the skin disease epidermolysis bullosa, which is incurable and sometimes fatal. Unfortunately, due to the epidemic, I was unable to hold my spring event, which was to be a major income for the charity. But having held a very successful carol concert, and due to the generosity of many with donations, we managed to raise just under £7,000. Much of what I've been doing throughout my mayoral year is seen and written about in the press and on social media. Therefore, I have, I hope, at all times been on my best behaviour and always aware that there's a camera lurking. For this reason, I would like to pay special thanks to our comms teams, Andrea, Louise, Clodagh and Olivia, for not printing or mentioning my indiscretions and being such a pleasure to work with. Arriving on time, on the right day, wearing the appropriate clothing and being aware of what is expected of me. For example, if you're required to make a speech. I think I've only been caught out a few times and managed to hopefully get through it, but that is essential. And for this, I thank Caroline, who has kept me in check throughout my year. Without you, God knows what may have happened. Someone who has assisted me through meetings and has been an amazing help during my year is Anne Hunter. Again, without you, Anne, I know things could have been totally different, and I thank you for all your help. At the beginning of my year, I nominated Malcolm as Deputy Mayor. The decision was made without any doubt that we would be an ideal partnership. I have worked with Malcolm on many committees and knew that he would be a great help to me, and I was proved right. So a huge thank you to you, Malcolm, and I know that the coming year you will be a great success. But of course, when you take up the role of Mayor or any senior position in the council, you need the support of your family. Many times, family events have to take second place, and to have an understanding wife who not only accepts that, but gives her time and attends many engagements with you is truly appreciated. Hilary, I thank you for that, for being there all the time. Thank you. Finally, I would like to thank all the officers and staff of this council for their help over the past year, and members for giving me the opportunity to serve as Mayor. Thank you. Right. Okay. Thank you. We now come to the election of the Mayor for Municipal year of 2021. Can I have a nomination for the position of Mayor, please?
Yes, sir. I would like to nominate Malcolm Richards.
Thank you very much. That's John Halsall, Councillor John Halsall, nominating Councillor Richards. And do we have a seconder?
Yes, Councillor Lindsay Ferris, leader of the Liberal Democrats, is very pleased to second Malcolm.
Thank you very much. As the proposer, John, did you wish to say, have a few words to say?
No, not really. I think Malcolm is a wonderful choice.
Thank you very much. And Lindsay, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, I think Malcolm is a very well respected councillor and deserves his opportunity to be Mayor.
Thank you very much. Are there any further nominations? No. So at that point, can I ask Susan Parsonage, the Chief Executive, to come in and to accept those nominations and ask for a vote, I think. Susan?
Thank you. I would like to announce that Councillor Malcolm Richards be elected as Mayor of Wokingham Borough Council for the 2021 municipal year.
Thank you very much. Do we need a show of hands? I'm not too sure. Do we need to show of hands to accept that?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. So that's well, over to you, Malcolm. Sorry, Andy. Andy, are you wishing to speak? Because you're muted at the moment.
My apologies, but I was under the impression there would be a vote because the Labour group doesn't vote for Malcolm.
Okay. Under those circumstances, then, can I ask the leader of each group then to vote?
Sorry,
so
point of order.
Can I ask the Conservative group? Can I ask John Halsall?
Through this way.
Sorry?
I have a point of order before we proceed to vote on this basis.
Right, okay. Your point of order is?
Let me just share the relevant section from the Constitution. It's at Rule 4.2.15.3 and the related sections that there is no allowance in the Constitution for block or proxy voting. It shall be a ballot or recorded vote and will take by a show of hands, or if there is no dissent, by the affirmation of the meeting. There is no allowance within the Constitution for group leaders to vote on behalf of their groups.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Can I go to Anne? Do you have anything that you can add to that, Anne?
My understanding is that under the guidance, things can be changed, provided they are in agreement of the groups, and all of the groups have agreed to this. And in order, because the Constitution was set out when we didn't have virtual meetings, so we have come up with a pragmatic approach, as other councils have, in order to make business. We can't use the show of hands because people who are coming in on a tablet will not have that facility, which is why we can't use it. And that is why we've agreed with the group leaders that this is how it will be dealt with.
Thank you very much, Anne. So based on that,
I'm still going to say that it doesn't matter what the group leaders have said. The Constitution quite clearly says those are the three methods we can use for voting.
I think the point is that these are rather unusual circumstances, and it's not going to be a fair vote if not everybody's hand can be shown. Having had agreement with each group leader that they would discuss with their members how they would wish to vote, we're asking for that vote to take place, and anybody who has an opposing view will be noted. So we will know those for and those against. So I just muted myself. Don't see that there can be a problem with that. We know exactly what each group has voted and how many are either abstaining or voting against. So I think under those circumstances, we can go ahead, as all the groups agreed that that was the fair and best way forward.
Sorry, again, it doesn't matter what the group leaders have decided. What the group leaders have decided directly contradicts and conflicts with what is in our constitution. So we need to either change the constitution or we have to have a method of voting on these meetings, which is in line with what the constitution requires.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a point of order?
Yes.
Which is that I believe we have the ability to drop that standing order, do we not? If we can't do it, but I do believe that Anne Hunter has given you the correct legislation, so I don't think there's a necessity.
Thank you very much for that. Do you have any comments to make further, Anne?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I just feel that if members are happy to change this rule of procedure, then we can have a vote for all the councillors. We can call each name and ask them if they agree to this procedure rule being dropped for this particular meeting. Otherwise, we'll have to have essentially recorded votes for every single item, including the outside body item. So it's for members to decide how they wish to do it. If they're happy for it to go ahead and we have a vote on not dealing with the procedure rule in this way, and we go ahead with the block voting, there is still the opportunity for any member who is unhappy with the block voting to have their individual vote recorded. Could we have then a show of hands if members want to disapply the particular procedure rule that Councillor Smith has just shown us on his screen? If we get a consensus, then we will do essentially a recorded vote on that particular item, and we'll call out everybody's name. So if you would kindly, those of you can give a show of hands, and then we will then, if we get a large number of members who are happy with this, then we will do a recorded vote for this particular, so that we dispense with this particular procedure rule.
Okay, right. Can we do a show of hands then, please? Who's going to note the show of hands, Anne?
If we get a consensus from members, we will do then a recorded vote, so we have a proper vote that we will not put the procedure rule that Councillor Smith showed. And I'm seeing that a large majority of members wish to have this recorded vote and are happy to dispense with the procedure rule that Councillor Smith has shown. So we will have a recorded vote. We will call each member's name, and then we will take how they wish to vote.
Okay, I take it then that Susan, you will call the names, will you?
Do you want me to do it? Do you want me to do
That's correct. I'll call the names.
Thank you.
Keith Baker.
Sorry, can I please clarify exactly what it is we're voting for here? This is Councillor G. I just don't understand what the vote is for at this point.
Councillor Smith, could you please share your screen again? Could you share the particular procedure rule?
I think I am sharing it now.
Right.
So, Councillor Smith, would you say what you're objecting to?
My objection is to proxy voting or block voting by the group leaders because it is not allowed under the Constitution as it stands.
Councillor Smith, you were saying that the show of hands. So we are going to vote on not showing hands, and that would proxy vote. The bulk vote, the block votes.
I think it is altering the rules to say a block vote is allowable.
What we are doing is getting members to agree that we will dispense with the voting rules as they are in the Constitution, and we will go with block voting,
with the opportunity for any member to change their vote if they wish from the group leaders vote. So we will have a recorded vote on that, please.
Right. Okay. So
can I just say it is only for this council meeting?
Yes, that is correct.
okay, thank you very much. Susan, would you like to go ahead with the name?
I'll read out the names now.
Thank you.
Keith Baker.
Voting for the suspension for the block vote.
Harry Barr.
Voting for.
Rachel Bishop Firth.
Voting for both.
Laura Blumenthal.
Hello, Laura.
I think Laura's mic's died.
Laura said on the text that she was in favour on the meeting
Yes,
chat.
on the meeting
Okay.
chat, she said yes.
Okay, Chris Bowering.
4.
Shirley Boyt.
4.
Prue Bray.
4.
Rachel Burgess.
4.
Jenny Cheng.
4.
Ulla Crane Clark.
4.
Stephen Conway.
4.
Gary Cowan.
4.
Andy Croy.
4.
Richard Delinsky.
4.
Carl Duran.
4.
Lindsay Ferris.
4.
Michael Firminger.
4.
Paul Fishwick.
4.
Jim Fruin. Marie G.
4.
Guy Grandinson.
4.
Charlotte Haytham Taylor.
4.
John Halsall.
4.
David Hare. David Hare.
Said 4.
Pauline Helly Simons.
4.
Emma Hobbs.
4.
Graham Howe.
4.
Clive Jones.
4.
Pauline Jorgensen.
Somebody keeps muting me. 4.
John Kaiser.
4.
Sarah Kerr.
4.
Diane King.
4.
Abdul Louise.
4.
Tahir Maher.
4.
Charles McGetts.
4.
Adrian Mather.
4.
Ken Mayle.
4.
Andrew Mickelbo.
4.
Stuart Monroe.
4.
Gregor Murray.
4.
Gregor Murray.
4.
It was very faint, Susan, but he did say 4.
Okay, thank you. Barry Patman. Barry Patman.
4.
Malcolm Richards.
4.
Angus Ross.
4.
Daniel Sargent.
4.
Imogen Shepherd-Debay.
4. Can I please ask people to mute if they're not speaking, because I'm getting a lot of peripheral noise.
Rochelle Shepherd-Debay.
4.
Caroline Smith.
4.
Chris Smith.
Against.
Wayne Smith.
4.
Bill Soane.
4.
Alison Swaddle.
4.
Simon Weeks.
4.
Oliver Whittle.
4.
So that's carried.
Thank you very much. So based on that, can we have the block votes from each group leader for the acceptance as Malcolm Richards as Mayor for 2021? Can I ask first of all the Conservative group leader?
John Halsall, 31 votes.
Thank you. Were there any against?
Not as far as I'm aware, no.
Okay. Lindsay Ferris.
Liberal Democrat votes 15 in favour and none against.
Thank you very much. Andy Croy.
The Labour group, 4 votes, all abstaining.
4 and 4 abstaining, right? Okay. And Richard Dolinsky.
Yeah, independent, all 3 votes for.
Thank you very much. So I'll hand back to you, Susan.
Thank you. So I now announce that Councillor Malcolm Richards be elected as Mayor of Wokingham Borough Council for the 2021 municipal year.
Thank you very much. I'd now invite Malcolm Richards, Councillor Malcolm, sorry, muted myself, to take the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I will now mute myself and the image whilst I put on the chain of office and the robe. Please bear with me.
If anybody is needing a comfort break or a glass of whiskey or something a little stronger, now's the moment to do it.
I have a quick question. I didn't see a note, but is this meeting meant to be recorded?
Yes.
It is. It is being recorded. Yes.
Okay. I just didn't see a note pop up saying this meeting's being recorded.
I think in my error, I think I should have mentioned that in my notes. Please note the meeting is currently being webcast live, so and also recorded. So yeah, perhaps I missed that.
Councillor Soane, just to clarify, it is not being recorded. It is being live webcast.
Oh right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm back. I'm not yet. Okay. I should now read the following message. I, Malcolm Richards, having been elected to the office of Mayor of Wokingham Borough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I will now also sign the acceptance of office book. I have now signed the acceptance of office book, and I can advise you that the Chief Executive will sign the acceptance of office book at a later date. I now would like to thank the Council and make a short speech to you. Good evening, everybody. I'm delighted and honoured to have been chosen as the Borough Mayor of Wokingham for 2020 to 2021. And I'm also very pleased to see that my nomination was a cross-party decision, since all our aims are to represent all the residents and boroughs and businesses in the borough. I was the Deputy Mayor last year, so I now, as Mayor, just move along one seat on the top table. Except, of course, with COVID-19 and social distancing, we are in fact all in very many different locations right now. 2020 has been a most eventful year for several reasons. I obviously won't go through all of those events and reasons with you, but as an illustration, one of them is that there were no local elections across the UK in May this year. Instead, the existing Borough Council of 2019-20 was required to remain in place for an additional year until the next scheduled election in May 2021. We also have the COVID-19 situation, which of course is difficult and different and very costly to many in both financial and personal terms. But COVID-19 will not last forever. When it passes, we hope to return to a more normal mode of operation and to re-establish real connections to our family and friends, instead of just seeing them on a computer screen or through a window and at a social distancing rule. We will still need to work together to get back to our chosen ways of life, even though we are not yet sure how similar or different it will be. But I don't think we can or would want to forget the way in which we have all had to work together to get through this COVID-19 situation, and we will get through it. The fact that we are going through it now, however long or difficult it is, shows how strong and resilient we are as a community. We owe our gratitude to those in the key services and in the paid sector, and to all those in the voluntary sector, plus of course to the residents themselves and to the businesses, who have all had to follow the regulations and yet use their initiative and adaptability to keep things going along. The Council has also had to make many changes in its mode of operation. Technology and software have certainly played an important part in that revised operation, as have the majority of our staff and members and indeed our residents. Just one instance of a big change is this full council meeting being conducted as a virtual meeting for the very first time, using technology instead of the usual communal gathering. Whether it is the NHS or all the many other key workers or the volunteers or residents or the businesses, I would like to offer my and the Council's considerable thanks to all those people who have helped the Wokingham community. On that point, I would like to mention charities. It is the Mayor's option to choose a charity each year, one or more in fact, and to help raise funds for that charity service over the year. There are many charities and they do a great deal of valuable work for various causes. This year, a considerable focus has of course been on public donations for the NHS and other care and health-related services, quite understandably. In my mayoral year, I would like to focus on the aspect of families with young children, who, during times of difficulty and for various reasons, often outside of their own control, have to impose or suffer a severe limit on the basic opportunities for their children to live a happy, normal or safe life. For example, they would like their child to be able to go to school regularly and to wear a school uniform like their friends also wear, and to join in with their friends' activities and conversations without embarrassment, suffering embarrassment and being different. An unsolved problem at that age, if it's not dealt with, especially when at school, where perhaps bullying can sometimes be a problem, can sometimes lead on to problems in later life if not dealt with promptly. And so the charities need to deal with that. Some of the children may also be part-time carers for their siblings or a parent, or because outgrowing their school clothes, but their parents cannot afford a replacement uniform or sportswear. Or even a baby who has no cot because his or her older sibling is still sleeping in the original cot. These are examples of the cases I would like a charity to assist, and I have therefore chosen two Wokingham-based charities. They are the Home First Wokingham charity and the First Days Wokingham charity. Those separate charities, they can each cover some of the support needs I have listed, and they do occasionally choose to liaise and work together to solve a particularly tricky problem, because different resources may be needed to solve different needs, and by combining their resources and sharing, you can often get the synergy of a better solution. I have visited their locations and spoken with organisers, supporters and beneficiaries of them both. Further details can be provided shortly and will be throughout the year during fundraising. Finally, what about after COVID? When the council returns to a more traditional way of conducting its business and meetings, it will continue to be a very different and challenging year for the council, as it will also be for many of our residents and businesses. Some things may return to their former ways, but many others may well remain in the revised form of more home working, less travel, more use of communications technology facilities. Whichever direction it takes, the council will remain heavily involved in the provision of the many essential services that we all need and rely upon. I am glad to be a part of and the new mayor of that council. Thank you very much.
Well done, Malcolm. Well done, Malcolm.
Thank you. Thank you. I would also like to offer my thanks to the outgoing mayor, Bill Stone, and effectively hand over the scrapbook to Bill. I've known Bill for a number of years as a borough councillor. I've known Bill as a borough councillor for several years, and of course as a mayor and me as deputy for the last year. We've worked together well. We've always got on well. He is a friendly, supportive and pleasant person, and we've worked well in a number of issues. And although he's now returning, I suppose what you might call the backbenches, I will be continuing to maintain contact with him, and I thank him and offer him my respect as a councillor and as the new mayor to my former mayor colleague. I would also like to thank Hilary, which is Bill's wife, because I've met her on several occasions and she's equally pleasant and friendly and was very supportive. We in fact discovered a common interest in numbers and the significance of numbers in different circumstances. And we compared them, and it sounds a strange thing to do, but there's a lot of them where it happens, and it becomes an amusing point when we meet on a few occasions. So I'd like to also to thank Hilary for her continued friendship, and to both of them for the past year and their support. Thank you very much. I would now like to offer this book here, which is the scrapbook, and I will offer it over.
How did you do that?
Magic. You're muted, Bill.
Thank you very much for that. It's very interesting. I have had a look through it before you handed it over. The pictures in there are quite safe to show my family. Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Bill. I would also like to state the mayor has a consort for the year. When I was deputy mayor, I chose one of my daughters to be the consort, and now I'm mayor, I'd like to choose my other daughter to be the consort. And she is Christine. The first daughter for the deputy mayor was Natalie. Now choosing my daughter Christine as the consort for the coming year. Right. We are now moved to the appointment of deputy mayor for the municipal year 2021. Are there any nominations for the deputy mayor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, John Kaiser. I'd like to nominate Keith Baker.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, I will second that.
Thank you to both of you, the two Johns. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes.
Lindsay Ferris here.
Yes.
I would like
Ferris.
to nominate Caroline Smith for Deputy Mayor.
And Malcolm, I would like to second Caroline Smith as Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Clive Jones.
Do the proposer or seconder wish to make very short speeches in support of the nominations, or are they content to accept just the proposal and the seconding?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say this is as a reward for the many years. For the many years.
We seem to have doubling on the voices.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say this is thanks to Keith for the many years that he's given to the council, both the borough and Woodley Town Council.
Thank you. Right.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to say something in support of Caroline. I don't know if Lindsay is going to. I think he might have disappeared.
Thank you.
All right.
I had a noisy dog. Sorry. I'd like to thank Caroline for agreeing to put a name forward. She would make a very, very good deputy mayor. She's well respected, and particularly in the volunteering and charity area, and has been a councillor for a number of years in the past. And I think that she would make a very good and capable and a good deputy mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I say something for a short?
Yes, of course.
Just quickly, thanks. I've known Caroline for the past 10 years or so. She's a very straightforward person. What you see is what you get. She has lived in this area all of her life. She was brought up in Reading. She attended primary schools and secondary schools in Reading. She is a graduate of Reading University with a degree in sociology. All her 3 children were born in the Royal Berkshire Hospital. She's got 6 grandchildren. She's worked locally in retail. She's currently the manager of the cancer research shop in Wokingham, which is one of their best shops. She's been doing that job for 20 years. With her knowledge of our local community, she would make an excellent ambassador for us in this year as Deputy Mayor. Caroline would discharge her duties as Mayor with dignity and with fairness. And it's a great pleasure to second her for the position of Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak of in a few words in nomination?
Yes, you may speak.
May I speak in a few words in nomination of Keith Baker? Keith Baker has fulfilled pretty much every role in the council. He's been a very successful executive member. He was the leader, and he is a very, very well-respected councillor in his neck of the woods. So it is a deserving position for a very long-serving and successful councillor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, very helpful. I will now hand over to the Chief Executive, who will explain the procedure.
Thank you. So I will ask the group leaders to indicate their member support or otherwise for each person, and after the group leaders have given their votes, I will then ask the group members if any disagree with the information the group leaders have provided. So we have 2 nominations, and I'll start with the first nomination. That's Keith Baker. And if I now ask the group leaders in turn for their votes. So for Keith Baker, Councillor John Halsall.
I'm the leader of the Conservative group, and I cast 31 votes.
Councillor Lindsay Ferris.
I'm leader of the Liberal Democrat, group. I cast 15 votes against Keith.
Councillor Andy Croy.
I'm the leader of the Labour group and I cast 4 votes against Keith.
Councillor Richard Delinsky.
Yes, for the independents, 2 votes for Keith Baker.
Thank you. If I move to the second nominee, Caroline Smith. Councillor John Halsall.
I speak for the Conservative group, and that would be 31 votes against.
Councillor Lindsay Ferris.
Speak for the Liberal Democrat group, and I go 15 votes for.
Councillor Andy Croy.
For the Labour group, 4 votes for Caroline.
Councillor Richard Delinsky.
No votes for the candidate.
Thank you. Does anybody disagree with the information their group leaders have provided? No disagreement. So I announce that Keith Baker is the deputy mayor. So Councillor Keith Baker be elected as deputy mayor of Wokingham Borough Council for the 2021 municipal year.
Councillor Baker, you are elected, and would you like to read out the statement, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, Keith Baker, just turn the camera on. I, Keith Baker, for having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of Wokingham Borough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Councillor Baker, would you like to speak to the council following your election?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First of all, can I express my extreme gratitude for the support for my nomination as Deputy Mayor. It will be a great honour to serve this great community of ours. I'm pleased to announce that my wife Marilyn will be my consort for the next year. She has supported me over the last 20 years in my political activities, and without her I could not have been as successful as I have been. I must admit that I'm a bit old-fashioned in my views, in that I believe being mayor or deputy mayor is earned and not simply a political appointment. But I believe my track record satisfies that principle. I first joined this council in 2006 when I was elected as a member to represent Coronation Ward in Woodley. I have been leader of Woodley Town Council since 2011 and held a variety of senior roles in the borough, including leader, executive member for both highways and planning, and chairman of the Overview and Scrutiny Management Committee. Overall, I have spent just over 10 years in senior roles in this council. Outside of politics, I have also dedicated a large amount of time to the community. For over 10 years, I have been a school governor at Addington School, one of the best special needs schools in the country. For over 20 years, I volunteered as an assistant stage manager for a local youth theatre company called Starmaker, known for the group where Kate Winslet started when she was a youngster. In June 2019, I was extremely humbled when I was awarded an MBE for my contribution to public and political services, and was extremely lucky to receive the award directly from Her Majesty the Queen. Thank you once again for allowing me this great privilege of serving this community yet again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Now with back in my mayor's role. Can I ask if there are any apologies, Frank?
There are no apologies.
Thank you. We now move on to the next item, which is minutes of the previous meeting. So can I ask for members' agreement to the minutes? I will assume that all members are in agreement with the minutes unless anyone advises me that they disagree. Now. Right, having received no indication of any disagreement, they will therefore be accepted and on the record as the signed approval of the meeting. Next item on the list is declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations of interest to make?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I've got 2 declarations of interest. One is on the vote for Governor for the Royal Berks Hospital Trust. That's because I'm an honorary employee of the Trust, and the appointment to the Learning Disabilities Partnership Board. I'm a trustee of CLASP that administers the board. Therefore, I will not be voting on any of those appointments.
Yes, Councillor Baker, do you have anything to say at all of interest?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I need to declare an interest in the outside bodies item when it comes to Woodley Town Centre Management Initiative, because I'm a member of that executive on behalf of Woodley Town Council.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Okay, we now move on to a longer item, public question time. I would like to remind members that questions should be clear and brief without a long political statement in the front of it, and they should be no longer than 2 minutes. Supplementary questions are permitted, but they must relate to the subject that was asked or to the answer that was given to them, and not wander down a new alleyway. So on that basis, can I ask Alexandra Fraser to ask her question of Parry Bath?
Yeah, you can. Would the person in department responsible for the management of Foxhill Woods please show us their management plan?
Thank you for that question, Alexandra. Good evening. The answer is long-winded, but the area known as Foxhill Woods includes areas that are owned by a number of different private landowners, as well as the areas that are public spaces managed by Woking Borough Council. Council-owned areas are managed by Locality Services of Woodland. Whilst we don't have a formal management plan for the site, as in other areas of the borough, the trees are managed in accordance with the council's agreed tree inspection policy, which places trees into different risk zones and associated frequency of monitoring activity. Woodland paths, public rights of way, are inspected every 7 years, and general woodland is monitored on a reactive basis. We also maintain it as a continuous cover forestry, whilst at the same time protecting the trees under the Woodland Tree Preservation Order. This category is designed to safeguard a woodland as a whole rather than the individual trees in it. The continuous cover forestry approach requires that there are sufficient opportunities for the next generation of new tree seedlings to become established through periodic selective felling and via reduction in rhododendron cover, both of which can significantly suppress the growth of the tree seedlings due to the lack of light. Creating a mixed age woodland through continuous cover forestry will be beneficial to wildlife by increasing the structural diversity. For Foxhill Woods also includes a public right-of-way, and we are planning to construct the middle section of the Route B Greenway through this land, which would upgrade the current public rights-of-way. In addition to this, a number of bridleways and footpaths have been claimed over the area, and we are currently in the process of investigating these claims and in the evidence that has been supplied.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you have a supplementary, Ms. Fraser?
Yeah, so Wokingham Borough Council policy for the ongoing maintenance of council-owned trees from February 2017 states that the council will aim to ensure that each council-owned woodland has an up-to-date management plan, and that the council will encourage community involvement with woodland management. So the group that I'm representing, the Friends of Foxhill, we have a working group, and we need someone in the council to support us in achieving these aims without conflicting with planning policy on TPOs. Please, will the responsible executive member arrange this?
I will certainly do that, and I'm very pleased to hear that what you're doing is absolutely commendable, and I will speak to you offline and recommend a name.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Would Morag Melvin like to ask a question, please? Morag Melvin, are you there? One more opportunity. If you don't speak now, what will happen is your question will be answered in writing and sent to you. Okay, probably not. Fine, so we move to the next question. Would Steve Myers like to ask his question, please?
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Okay, my question is for, I think, Gregor Murray, and it's around the use of...
Can I...
It's actually for me, Stephen.
Oh, okay. I thought it had been moved over to Gregor Murray. I do apologise. I had an email saying that it had been.
Right, would you like to ask a question then of Pauline?
Okay, it is basically around the use of, or non-use of, smart traffic lights within Wokingham Town Centre. There was an announcement earlier in the year that you wanted to make motorists switch their engines off while they were waiting in traffic lights. It seems daft that there's no use of smart traffic lights, especially Tudor House and London Road, that actually change if there's no cars coming. Tudor House, you can be waiting for 2 or 3 minutes with no cars coming at a red traffic light with your engine running. And I'm wondering why they maybe isn't any use of the money coming from developers at the moment to invest in this technology on our roads with the increased number of cars.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Mr. Mace. We have actually already embarked on a major investment into intelligent traffic lights in order to deal with the congestion issues and, of course, the pollution. Many of the borough's traffic signal controlled intersections have already got smart software that is managing signal timing according to the variable demand by motor traffic, which is what smart lights do, whilst balancing this with the need to enable safe pedestrian and cyclist use. The signal control junction at St Anne's Manor is already equipped and functioning in this way. When I found out about the issue at St Anne's, I asked the highways guys to investigate, and they discovered that the timing was out. That has now been fixed, and I believe the St Anne's Manor traffic lights are now behaving in a much more intelligent way than they were before. If you've got any other traffic lights that you think are not working, then please do let me know, and I will be very happy to chase up and get them sorted out for you.
Okay, that would be great. The ones at Tudor House are probably the biggest bugbear at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayers. We'll make a note of those and we'll get somebody to go and have a look at them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. I'd now like to ask Ella Woolfall to ask her question, please. And I believe that will be answered by Greg Ormbury. It appears that she's not here, so that is another one for which we'll receive a written answer and which will be sent to her. The next one is Lizzie Bishop to ask her question, please, of John Halsell.
Hi. So basically, Councillor Halsell, you kindly committed last year that you'd support an LGBT Pride event in Wokingham in 2020, and you reaffirmed it in the last full council meeting. When the rainbow flag was flown last year, many residents and businesses in the town centre responded with enthusiasm and with their own gestures of support. Obviously, in the current very difficult circumstances, we're hoping to build on it in 2020. But during the week leading up to the 11th of July 2020, we're hoping that residents will look to find ways of building greater mutual understanding, respect for differences, and friendship between residents. I'm aware that no council funding is available and that all events must be safe, but in the spirit of building understanding, respect and friendship, could you please tell us what support the council will be giving to Wokingham Pride in 2020?
Thank you very much for your question. It's one I look forward to. I did indeed agree to support the Pride event in Wokingham and reaffirmed this at full council. I strongly believe that we should do all what we can to understand and respect our differences. And through this, we can forge stronger, safer and collective communities working for each other and supporting each other. This not only includes to the LGBT campaign for equality, but every part of our community, including the BAME community. Wokingham Borough Council's DNA is hardwired to treat everybody equitably, fairly and without discrimination. We, with our partners such as the BME Forum, recognise that we can do better and we are committed to do so. Just to make it clear whilst you're on the line, we cannot support the BLM movement as it has become a political organisation. The council should not be a political football or used inadvertently or advertently for political motives. Regrettably, in the US, the message has become an anti-police message. Whilst this way may or may not be appropriate there, we cannot associate with such a message in Wokingham. However, I welcome playing my part in full with working with the LGBT community to ensure that all human beings should be able to have the same opportunities and be treated with dignity, respect, regardless of race, sexual orientation or colour of skin. As for the specific Pride event, I can confirm the council will be raising the flag in support and publishing it on our website. I will also be wearing the badge, whatever it might be, to show my personal support, and will be present at the march, assuming I can be, or clapping from the sidelines in whatever way is permissible under social distancing guidelines in place at the time, or wherever I can be of support. I think at a time when we have had all somewhat restricted existence, such a march or festival could be fun and bring colour to the lives of our residents. Good luck, and you have my support.
Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary?
Yeah, so it's really appreciated, the thought you've put into it. We understand the situation and everything. I'm just wondering if it's possible for the council to agree to look at maybe how the council can support equality initiatives for its workforce or encourage council-run facilities like libraries to consider appropriate ways of marketing the Pride and the Pride event and the week itself by finding practical ways to educate on LGBT issues and stuff like that.
As I said in my reply to you, we are committed to equality and diversity, and I shall do what I can to help foster that throughout the council.
Great. Thank you so much. Really appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor. And
thank you.
Thanks.
Can I ask Mike Smith, please, to ask his question of Pauline Jorgensen?
Good evening. As a local early resident, I have noticed the very poor structural condition of the footbridge that carries the bridleway across the railway bridge at Early Railway Station and on across the A3290. I might add that I've asked this question via the website, and after having to chase it when I didn't get a response in the allocated time, I got the following response, quote, "We are aware of the condition and it's being monitored for the time being. We are looking into replacing the structure, but due to the scale of the project, it is going to take some time." So my question is specifically, what are the plans for repair or replacement of this bridge, please?
I can't unmute.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Unmuted, Pauline.
Yeah.
Yes, you're unmuted. You're sharing your screen for some reason, though.
Oh, God. Okay. Sorry, my PC just went completely bananas. Apologies. Let me switch. Is that any better? Is that gone?
Yeah, it's gone. You're still
Right.
here.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you. So, thank you for your question, Mr. Smith. The bridge has been identified for replacement, and capital funding has been allocated to enable this. Our Highways team are in the process of undertaking the design for the new bridge and starting negotiations and agreements with Network Rail, as any works to repair or replace the bridge over the railway needs the railway line to be closed for a period. In the meantime, our engineers have increased the frequency of inspections to ensure we're able to keep the bridge safe and open whilst we prepare to replace it. So it's in progress at the moment.
Thank you.
Have you got another question?
I do have a supplementary. There is currently no disabled access onto the Early Railway Station for the London-bound platform. It would be very easy, if you are replacing the bridge, to put in such access. So my supplementary question is, can you install such access at the same time as the planned closure of the railway line when you have to put in bridges for the Northern Distribution Road Bridge at Winnersh? That would obviously save on the disruption and the cost, presumably, to Network Rail.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Smith. The current position with Early Station is that you have to go to a different station to get off and then go back. We are looking at the moment at providing disabled access to Winnersh Triangle, and I'll certainly take the proposal about Early Station back as well and get somebody to look at it to see whether it's cost effective.
Yes, if I was in a wheelchair or if I had a pram with young children, it would be very annoying to have to go down to Reading or get a taxi to Wokingham before I could get on a train.
Yeah, I understand.
Just for the sake of a ramp.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll look at it. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Fran, would you like to ask your question, please? Also, Pauline Jorgensen.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Perfect. So one small positive to come out of the lockdown has been seeing the huge numbers of people of all ages out cycling, walking, running on the quieter, cleaner, less congested roads and pavements. I think it's great that in the past the council's committed to active transport, as shown by the ongoing completion of the borough's section of the Newbury to Windsor cycle route. Increasing levels of walking and cycling can help the council meet its commitment to go carbon neutral by 2030, as well as keeping it at the top of the healthiest and best places to live in the UK, not to mentioning boosting local economies and reducing traffic congestion and keeping travel times down for those who need to drive. In view of this, what specific plans does the council have to nurture the recent enthusiasm for cycling and walking?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Cran. Yeah, I've noticed a lot more people out on bicycles going past my house since the lockdown, which is great to see. The Department of Transport has made £225 million available for active travel measures to support recovery from the current crisis. For Wokingham Borough, this means we could qualify for up to £759,000. There are plans for temporary measures around Wokingham Town Centre, which will help visitors maintain social distancing, which I think you might have seen going in the last couple of days. They will encourage walking and cycling into and around the town. I would like to make as many of the things that we're doing that help cyclists and walkers permanent rather than temporary. So I'm very interested in seeing how the changes work so we can work out how we balance the needs of the motorists with the needs of people who are walking and cycling. The works in Wokingham at the moment will use the first tranche of funding, which is 152,000, which has been allocated to us. But there's going to be an ongoing opportunity for us to get a second tranche of up to 607,000 later in the year. We need to move quickly to deliver the initial works and demonstrate to the DFT that we can deliver in short timescales in order to qualify for the second tranche of funding. So our main focus has been on this to date. Because of the timescales, we're unable to consult in the usual way, but we'll be seeking feedback as the changes are rolled out. Officers have been discussing a number of other plans for the next tranche of funding, as well as considering ideas put forward by the public, businesses and elected members to help pedestrians and cyclists across the borough, and we're open to any other suggestions anybody might have. You may be aware Wokingham Town Centre has been the focus of one of the DFT's local cycling and walking infrastructure plan pilot projects. We intend to complete this for the town centre and roll it out across the borough, so eventually the whole borough will benefit from a plan of walking and cycling, forming a cohesive network based on evidence. The greatest benefit is achieved from the physical measures, and this will form part of Local Transport Plan 4, which is...
To the next item, which is petitions. Does anyone wish to hand in a petition? We have so far not been informed of any petitions arriving. Okay. So we now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is to inform you of any items of interest or announcements. We do not have any further announcements at this stage, and neither does the Chief Executive. Okay. Next item is for statements from the Leader of Council, Executive Members and Leader of the Opposition. And could we therefore call on John Halsall to begin this item?
Am I on, Malcolm? Sorry.
You are on, yes.
Yeah. The tragic death of George Floyd has once again raised the inequality and injustice that exists in society. Wokingham Borough Council's DNA is hardwired to treat everyone equitably, fairly and without discrimination. We and the BME Forum recognise that we can do better. We are committed to doing so. I'm not making any changes to my executive nor their portfolios. You, Mr. Mayor, can no longer be a deputy executive member. I will not fill the vacant DEM roles for highways and transport and planning and enforcement. I will deputise for these areas myself, and that will be included within my specific areas of responsibility within this constitution, together with responsibility for personnel equalities and diversity. During the emergency, Susan and I have led the council with great pride. All the borough councillors, the executive directors, officers, charities, partners, volunteers and residents have excelled. I'm grateful to all of you. You have made this borough an exemplar of good practice. We will build on this fantastic work to develop our communities and neighbourhoods and to pursue our council plan published earlier this year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Halsall. Could I now ask Charles Margette to speak, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Coronavirus has caused significant problems in our care homes. In February this year, central government advised all councils that it required us to implement discharge from hospital to care homes 7 days a week within 2 hours. It became clear to us in April that we had a developing problem with suspected outbreaks in our care homes. Almost every outbreak was shown to be linked to discharges from the Royal Berkshire Hospital. We lobbied our MPs to help resolve the situation. However, it became clear that their efforts were not bringing success. Therefore, we took the unprecedented step of refusing discharges from the Royal Berkshire Hospital until we could be certain our care homes were safe. Our infection control teams have now visited all the relevant care homes and all of the required testing is in place. I am pleased to report that deaths in care homes in Wokingham are now at pre-COVID levels. We can say with confidence that our care homes are as safe as they possibly could be. I'd like to thank care home staff, our officers and the inspection control teams who've worked so hard on this. The next step for us is to set up track and trace. Responsibility of this process will lie with WBC. We will manage this with a subgroup of the Health and Wellbeing Board, which will be chaired by the leader. More details will be announced publicly shortly. I'd also like to thank the many officers and volunteers who worked so hard on the community response within the borough. I would finally like to reassure all of our residents that we will continue to support all of those who need our help as long as this crisis lasts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Margette. Would Councillor Ulrich Clark now like to speak?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
This has been an important year for Children's Services. Under our new leadership team, with Carol Camis at the helm, robust self-evaluation of services was undertaken, and later the formal inspections helped us to confirm that our self-evaluation was right. We have approved the funding package for Children's Services, which will enable continuation of the improvement programme at pace. We are a council which is ambitious for children and young people in the borough, and we are clear that our intention is for our social care and early help services to be judged a minimum of good in Ofsted terms. Last year, Ofsted told us that we require improvement to be good. Now, we are well on the way to being firmly good. I am proud to say that our children, supported through education, health and care plans, are receiving a better service, with 95% of needs assessments now completed within statutory timescales. In conclusion, we understand the challenges, we know what we need to do, and we are optimistic for the future of Children's Services in Wokingham. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Would Parry Barn now like to speak, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and many congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, during these unprecedented times, we have maintained 100% weekly waste collection where others have failed. We have reopened our car parks in our country parks, allowing our residents to enjoy their health and well-being and the fresh air. We have reopened our home waste recycling centres to combat fly tipping whilst maintaining social distancing and to protect our residents and our staff. We are maintaining our grass cutting and street cleaning schedules. We have been providing an online library service to all our residents. And finally, we are preparing ourselves to open our leisure centres as soon as possible, as soon as we get the green light from the central government. Mr. Mayor, all of these achievements would not have been possible without the fantastic dedication of our contractors and officers. So a big thank you to all our contractors and officers. And finally, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to extend my thanks to our residents for behaving so responsibly in coping with the social distancing that the pandemic has imposed on us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barr. Would Charlotte Haytham-Taylor please speak next?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations on your new appointment.
Thank you.
This week, it gives me great pleasure to announce that Wokingham Borough is once again open for business. These past weeks and months have been incredibly difficult for our retailers, restaurants and residents all over the borough. So I'm delighted that yesterday we were at last able to open our non-essential shops. We want to see people back in town, staying safe and shopping locally, helping our borough's great businesses back on their feet. Businesses aren't the only ones on their feet. We've made it easier for pedestrians to navigate our pavements more safely by narrowing roadways and installing temporary crossings. During lockdown, the old Carnival pool has also been demolished, and it's full steam ahead in delivering the brand new leisure centre, pool and library that our residents demand and deserve. Our regen is regenerating, builders are building again at Elmsfield with social distancing, and it's very near to completion. Many new retailers are on the cusp of opening, another tenant exchange just this week, and more are queuing up around the block. This demonstrates the continued confidence in the town and in our borough. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Would Councillor Stewart Munro like to speak next, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations also. We have one of the first discretionary grant schemes under the COVID formally approved, which I think is really good because that picked up the bits that fell through. And we've established stronger links and relationships with our businesses throughout the payment of grants and welfare contacts, and we'll build on this to do what we can do to help with the recovery of our local economy. In summary, 1,329 businesses have been paid government support grant under these schemes. 85% of the government grant money has been distributed. 153 businesses applied for the discretionary grant, and a large portion of those have been processed. Investment portfolio is holding up well with some deals under review. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Would Councillor Gregor Murray like to speak next, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
We've spent the last 12 months consulting, considering and devising our climate emergency action plan. Over the next 12 months, we will begin delivery of an ambitious programme focused on significantly reducing our carbon footprint. During the next year, I expect to present to the executive a plan that will make the new Denton Pastures Activity Centre 130% carbon neutral. I will also be presenting plans to establish a community energy fund, a borough-wide electric vehicle charging strategy, and a plan to create a Woking Borough Council electric car club. For our schools, we will be rescheduling the postponed climate conference and aim to trial an innovative green behaviours initiative. We will be supporting our town and parish council initiatives, having circulated and published their carbon footprints. We will be reproposing the motion to eliminate non-essential single-use plastics from council operations, be presenting a plan to improve our customer service operation, and work to increase the distribution of our recently launched Woking Borough Connect communications.
Right, thank you. Could we have Councillor Kaiser next, please? John Kaiser.
Mr. Mayor, congratulations. On the financial front, there is no doubt we have and continue to supply the money, which is all the machine which has allowed excellent work by volunteers and staff of the council, and far beyond into care homes, schools, paying for PPE, food and all manner of care and support for residents across the borough. We went into this pandemic with excellent cash reserves due to years of excellent conservative cash management, and we will no doubt come out still with reserves, but much depleted. That said, reserves are there to support the borough in a time of need and hardship, and I would suggest if any member here looks at the havoc wreaked by this pandemic, not just in Wokingham or even the UK, but worldwide, and not just the economic damage, but the personal sorrow, and think about those who have died before their time and the family facing uncertain times. So yes, we have spent the money, but only the money we could afford and was necessary to ease the suffering and uncertainty of our residents. Would I do it again? Yes, 100%.
Thank you. Councillor Kaiser. We've run out of time on this particular item now, so I'm afraid no more questions there. However, Councillor Lindsay Ferris, would he like to speak now, please?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and also a well done to you, Malcolm.
Thank you.
We would like to start on a positive note by thanking all the officers, fellow councillors of all persuasions, and local residents, schools, businesses, and other organisations who have helped with the community hub based at St Crispin School. This has been invaluable work by all involved. Another achievement that the council deserves praise for is the work done in developing a social services protocol to prevent patients from being discharged from our local hospitals into care homes until it was clear that they did not have this dreadful virus. This action, in our view, saved many lives and should be applauded. We understand that other councils across the country have now followed suit, but Woking Borough Council took a lead on this and action was taken nearly a fortnight before the government acted. We would also like to thank senior officers and the leader of the council for providing detailed briefings over the last 12 weeks. We now turn to the functions of the council. The Lib Dem group has concerns about the lack of democracy during these last weeks, and it has taken a lot of lobbying to get to where we are tonight, as initially this and another full council meeting had just been cancelled. Also, if we were in control of this council, all committees would have had the ability to vote for their own chairs and vice chairs. I now turn to my group's greatest concern, namely the financial position the council will now find itself in over the next 6 to 12 months. We appreciate that the council will be experiencing a significant drop in revenue, together with increasing costs in a number of areas as a result of the pandemic. However, we have been warning the Conservative ruling group since 2017 about the levels of borrowing and debt that this council has been racking up. Back then, the debt was around £350 million, but now, 3 years later, this figure has risen to close to £700 million. The council has signed contracts committing it to paying out irrespectively, even in circumstances which have now transpired where the projected income to cover the cost committed to may either be delayed or even significantly reduced. leaving the council short of money. This foolhardy action is likely to have exposed the council to some very serious future financial problems. As a result of our warnings about this financial mismanagement having been totally ignored, the council now has a lot less resilience to bounce back from the challenges presented by this pandemic. We are concerned that cuts in services may have to be made just at a time when they are needed more than ever. We can see the finances of this council being stretched week by week as this crisis continues. We on this side will, at the same time as giving credit where credit is due, will continue holding this Conservative administration to account. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. That is the end of that particular item. We now move on to member question time, for which we have 30 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, may I make have a word?
Certainly.
We are running very far into the time that we've available, so I'm suggesting that the Tories will pull their members' questions with the agreement of my Tory group.
Agree.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's all the Tory question out. So for this item then, we do have Andy Croy to ask his question of Gregor Murray.
Okay, thank you. Just trying to find it. I had it and then I lost it. Give me 2 ticks. So my question is to Gregor. Why has Wokingham Borough Council not eliminated the use of single-use plastics from Shoot End and all council environments?
Wokingham Borough Council has been proactively working to eliminate the use of single-use plastics where it is not essential. From January 2020, we removed single-use coffee and water cups from our drink dispensing machines in Shoot End council offices and Wokingham Town Centre Library. In the public areas of the building, plastic cups have been replaced by biodegradable paper cups. Our cafe has moved to biodegradable materials from single-use plastic packaging since December 2019. And as hosts, we endeavour to reduce the amount of single-use plastic products used in meetings and use washable and reusable cups instead. We recognise a large proportion of the challenge is changing the mindset of staff when it comes to eliminating the material we have become so reliant on. We removed a number of bins around the offices and created waste and recycling points to encourage people to think twice about what they throw away. And with the support of our Green Team, the Council launched an internal sustainability campaign in March 2020 aimed at encouraging behaviour change to encourage staff as far as possible to stop single-use plastic. We seek to set an example for businesses, schools and residents in the borough to follow. By engaging with partners, we can achieve great impact. For example, working with one of our service providers, Cater Link, the council has reduced the use of single-use plastics from the catering services in 34 schools across the borough. School kitchens have benefited from no cling film pledges, removal of plastic cups, straws, bottles, crudité tubs, and the introduction of reusable plastic pots and containers and fully recyclable packaging materials. Kitchen staff are also encouraged where possible to reuse plastic containers from delivered goods. Regarding our waste collection service, we use blue bags for household waste and the caddy bags for food waste, which are both polyethylene and for single use. While the blue bags are single-use plastics, they act to reduce residual waste and drive up recycling. But we restrict them to 80 litre bags per annum and encourage residents to return unused bags to our libraries and community hubs. The council has now established a weekly food waste service available to all of our residents, which has resulted in the reduction of 5,000 tonnes going to general waste in the last financial year. The council encourages residents to use different methods, such as newspaper, bread and vegetable bags for their kitchen caddies instead of single-use plastic bags, and a large majority of our residents who are trying to eliminate single-use plastics from their lives support this.
Okay, that's the end of that answer then.
Do I get? Sorry, Mr. I didn't say, Malcolm. Congratulations on your election, but I do think I get a supplementary.
Yes, you do get a supplementary, certainly. Sorry, I was just trying to maintain.
No, that's fine.
I've not singled you out for exclusion. It's all right. Please carry on.
Yeah, that's fine. So thank you very much for that most comprehensive answer. So in September 2019, Gregor, you put forward a motion to eliminate single-use plastics. You put the same motion through in January 2020. You've just said in reply to Alison's question, I think, that you will put forward the same motion again in a future council meeting. But at the same time, you have reeled off a list of the examples where you're saying the Borough Council has eliminated the use of single-use plastic. So forgive me, but it doesn't seem like we know what we're doing. We either have or we haven't eliminated it. Now, my point is, or my question is that the role of the executive is to execute actions. If the executive is serious about eliminating the use of single-use plastics, why don't we just get on with it rather than bringing motion after motion to council?
It's a fair challenge, Andy, and I think what you can see from the actions that the council has taken is that we are just getting on with it. And despite full council not getting around to the motions, which is something that I found very frustrating, because I wanted it to be debated in the chamber and I wanted to have that discussion amongst all of the members, we have still got on with the job of removing single-use plastics from our council and from our council business and from our controlled environment. So I think actually you've kind of made my point for me, which is we have just gotten on with it. I still want to put the motion through to council because I think it is a statement of intent to say not only are we removing them, but we don't want them going forward.
Thank you. If we now skip over the other questions as Councillor Halsall suggested, there is a question from Councillor Gary Cowan. Can I ask, is he going to ask John Halsall the question or Charles Margetts the question?
I did address it to John, but I'm happy to have it answered by either. And I would also say congratulations, Malcolm, on becoming mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cohen. So if you'd like to ask your question.
I'd like to ask the question in my name. I won't read it all out.
The problem with asking it in your name and it not being read out is those who are watching will get an answer, but not the question. So would it be, without making it too long, can you ask the question quickly?
I assume you've got the question in front of you, have you, John?
I have the question in front of me, yes.
Well, then I shall ask the question standing in my name. I'll speed you up.
I bet you never thought you'd get the question answered, but
I've waited for a written answer.
The answer to the question is, could we have a map of COVID cases? That's the question. At the moment, we don't receive the postcode data of confirmed COVID-19 cases or deaths. We do have access to data about COVID-19 cases, deaths, care homes and school outbreaks for Wokingham residents from Public Health England, the Office of National Statistics and CQC. We collate all of these and develop a public report weekly for members of the public. This is on the Wokingham website. We are starting to receive information from the NHS Test and Trace, but not with postcodes. So we are unable to map the locations at the moment. We're expecting to receive more local data so we can monitor local outbreaks, but there is no date for this yet. The Public Health England Regional Oversight Group is monitoring hotspots or potential outbreaks and notifying the council immediately through public health so we can take appropriate action. Council staff have been deployed to support local outbreak planning and liaison with public health colleagues across Berkshire. So the answer to your question in essence is we might wish to, but we can't at the moment. And my understanding is one of the issues with the app is GDPR, and we would have to overcome that as well. Anyway, nice to hear from you, Gary.
Thank you, John. I do have a supplementary. Basically, as the government's track and trace programme is an unmitigated disaster, what we can do in the council ourselves would be beneficial to our residents, and I welcome the comments made by Charles on this exact point. But if you want to follow Charles's direction, which is to go down track and trace, you will need far more information, and I welcome anything that will benefit our residents. I hope you would agree with that.
I can't but agree. We are working very hard to put an effective system of track and trace in the borough, for which we will have ultimate responsibility. But at the moment that it's not quite clear what the design of that system is or should be.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Malcolm.
Thank you, Councillor Housel and Councillor Cowan. To the end of that particular question session, we now move on to the political balance report, where we are to receive a report on the political balance of the council and to make appointments to various committees and bodies. Would you like to start, please, Councillor Housel?
Yes, I would like to propose the political balance report.
Do you have a seconder?
Yes. Yes. I shall. Are you second? I thought I was second.
Seconded.
Okay. Well, the proposer can speak up to 3 minutes if they'd like to make a start now.
I don't need to speak up to 3 minutes. It is as it is published.
Okay. Thank you. Do you wish to the seconder now? Do you wish to speak now or reserve your right to speak later?
No, I would like to reserve to speak later, Mr. Mayor.
Fine. Does anyone else wish to speak? If yes, they need to do so now.
Yes, I would like to speak, please.
Certainly, Councillor Croy, please speak.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to draw members' attentions to the supporting documentation and comment, or paragraph 4.3. 4.3 starts off following a discussion with group leaders. Now, I'd just like to make clear that discussion did happen, but there was no consensus amongst group leaders. There was, as I recall, there was a decision by the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrat leaders that this procedure would be followed, but that certainly wasn't the Labour group's stance, and I'm hoping that we can have it recorded that we didn't agree to this. We think it's wrong. We think the principle that all committees should elect their own chairs and their own vice chairs stands. We don't think doing it en masse and en bloc in this meeting adds anything, and we think it's anti-democratic. So what I would like, if that's okay, is to take 0.5 as a separate vote so that we can vote against that. We're happy with the rest of it. We understand it's straightforward, but 0.5 in particular, the suspending of the Constitution, we would like to vote against that, please. Malcolm, did you catch that? Because you had your headphones off.
Yes, sorry. Fine. So, do you have anyone else who wishes to speak on this? No? Okay. In that case, we will do a separate vote for this request of yours. And now I think I have to ask the seconder if he wishes to speak, because he reserved his right to speak at the end. So Councillor Kaiser, I think, would be next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I mean, this is a proportional representation of the council. I'm quite happy to support this. It's what we normally do, and I'm sure it's what, God help us, if a party ever got in again, they would do the same. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. We will now go on to the vote for items 1 to 4 and 6 to 8 in a block vote. And then we will do the Councillor Croy's recommendation for 5 separately. So I would like to invite members to vote on all the recommendations on block using the process as we did before of asking each group leader in turn how their members wish to vote. So in that case, The first leader will be Councillor John Halsall on behalf of the Conservatives. Can you give me your...
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For 31 votes.
For 31. Okay. Councillor Ferris, we move on to you and groups for the Lib Dem.
Yes, for 15 votes.
15 for. Thank you. Then we move on to Councillor Croy. Would you like to indicate your votes?
For items 1 to 4, the Labour group has 4 votes for.
Thank you. And finally to Councillor Richard Dolinsky, would you like to give me the votes for your independent group, please?
Yes, 3 votes for 4.
3 votes for. Thank you. So just a moment, please, while we check. Right, so that is all agreed for those particular ones we've just agreed to. It is 1 to 4 and 6 to 8. We'll now do recommendation 5, which is Councillor Croy's proposal. Could we go back around the leaders again? So Councillor John Halsall first. Would you like to tell me?
For 31 votes in favour.
For 31. Okay. Councillor Ferris for the Lib Dems.
15 abstentions.
Oh, 15 abstentions. Okay. Then we move on to Councillor Croy for the Labour.
Thank you. For paragraph 5, we have 4 Labour votes against this.
4 against this. Okay. And Richard Dolinsky, Councillor Dolinsky, would like to give me the votes for your independents.
Independents, 3 votes for.
3 votes for. Okay, just a moment. So that is carried then for recommendation 5. Thank you.
May I ask a question at this point? It's Councillor G here.
Just a moment, please, minor point. It's because of the way the time is going, we need to decide what we're going to do about extending the meeting.
I'm asking a question about the vote we've just had.
Okay, please continue.
Yes, I'd just like to check that everybody who's voted is still here, because presumably you can only block vote for the people who are here.
Yes, I understand that is the case, yes.
Yes, because some people have been coming in and out of the chat, and I just want to check that everybody. So, for example, I'm not picking anybody in particular, but for example, Gregor joined halfway through, so obviously his vote wouldn't have counted for any that we might have had earlier on. So, is everybody still here? Could Democratic Services please check that everybody who's voted is still here?
Yes, we have done that. It's ongoing, in fact. We keep checking who's here regularly.
Right, okay.
I also didn't join halfway through. Actually, I had a computer issue on one, so at one point I logged in twice and then logged out of one and remained on the other.
All right, sorry, Gregor, I wasn't picking on you particularly. I was just pointing out that some people may have joined in and then left and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. So, in lieu of the time and we need to extend, I would like to propose that in accordance with Rule 4.2.12M, the meeting continue for a further period not exceeding 30 minutes. Do I have someone to second that, please?
I will second that, Mr. Mayor. John Halsall.
John Halsall to second that. Thank you. So we therefore can go up to 30 minutes. Just a moment.
You've got to get them to vote.
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
Sorry, but that's sorry, but that's slightly late. We need to vote on that extension. We would like to assume, therefore, that you will only speak if you are against the extension. So would anyone like to speak against the extension? Otherwise, we will continue against till 9:30. No. No one has spoken against it, so we will therefore extend the meeting and continue until 9:30. Thank you.
Malcolm, we can't hear you.
You're muted again, Malcolm.
Sorry, yes, I'm here. Do forgive me. This is the very first meeting I've done in this way for the council. In fact, it's the first time we've done a virtual council for the virtual Municipal Council, so please forgive me if I make the odd error. The next item is item 12, appointments to panels and working groups, etc. We intend to agree the nominations for all the appointments en bloc and only require separate votes on those where there is more than one nomination.
Sorry to interrupt, but did we vote on 6 to 8?
Yes, 1 to 4 and 6 to 8. Oh, and yours was the number 5, which was separate.
As long as you're happy with that, we did that. I didn't hear you say that.
Yes, we did that. So now then, we're going to do appointments, panels and working groups where we'll also do block votes. We'll only require separate votes on those where there is more than one nomination. So if you bear with me, I will find the right section for.
You've switched off again, Malcolm.
Malcolm, you're on mute again.
He's talking to himself.
Yes, sorry, I'm looking at papers at the same time as I'm trying to check what's happening. So we are now going to agree the nominations set out in Appendix 2, which are not contested. As these are appointments, uncontested, I'm assuming that all members are in agreement with the proposals. If anyone is not in agreement with the uncontested appointments in Appendix 2, could they please let me know now? Right, Councillor and Crow, you want to speak?
Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. My apologies.
Oh, okay. So you don't speak. Fine, thank you. So yes. So I was asking that we are going to do them on block vote. If anyone was not in agreement with block vote, could they please speak? No one has spoken, so we're assuming we can do those on a block vote. And so I can therefore announce that uncontested appointments are agreed. We will now be taking separate votes for those appointments with more than one nomination. Sorry?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So in terms of where we have a number of nominations, what will happen is that the nominations will be read out in alphabetical order, and I will ask each group leader in turn how their members wish to vote, and then the relevant group leader will state how many of their members wish to vote in that way. And then I will ask if there are any disagreements with the group leaders at the end of all of the group leaders giving their vote. So I will go to each
group a panel in turn. So if I take the first panel, the schools forum, which is 1 member. So in terms of the vote for Prue Bray, John Halsall.
None.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 in favour.
Andy Croy.
4 in favour of Prue Bray.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 in favour of Prue Bray.
If I move to the second nominee, Graham Howe. Leader John Halsall.
31 in favour of Graham Howe.
Leader Lindsay Ferris.
15 against.
Leader Andy Croy.
None for.
And Richard Dolinsky.
None.
Councillor Howe is nominated. If I move on to the second one, the secure accommodation panel. If I take the first candidate, that's David Hare. Councillor John Halsall.
No votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
4 votes in favour.
Richard Dolinsky.
No votes in favour.
The second nominee, John Kaiser. John Halsall.
31 votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
No votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
4 votes against.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 votes in favour.
Does anyone disagree with the group leaders? John Kaiser is nominated. If I move on to the Thames Valley Police and Crime Panel, first candidate, Jim Frowen. John Halsall.
No votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
No votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
I'm afraid no votes in favour.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 in favour.
Second nominee, Clive Jones. John Halsall. John Halsall.
You froze. No votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
4 votes in favour.
Richard Dolinsky.
No votes.
And the third nominee, Barry Patman. John Halsall.
31 votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 against.
Andy Croy.
No votes in favour.
Richard Dolinsky.
No votes in favour.
Anyone against? In terms of the group, what the group leaders have said.
Yes, I did.
Barry Patman is nominated. If I move on to the substitutes, and the nominee is Emma Hobbs.
15 votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes against.
Andy Croy.
No, no votes in favour of that one.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 in favour.
And the second nominee is Imogen Shepherd-Debay. Councillor John Halsall.
No votes in favour.
Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
No votes in favour.
Richard Dolinsky.
No votes.
Does anyone agree? Sorry, does anyone disagree with their group leaders? Emma Hobbs nominated. If I move Learnerty Partnership Board, as one is Rachel Burgess.
Sorry, Susan, you're breaking up.
Sorry. Councillor.
You've frozen, Susan.
Councillor.
I think you said Councillor.
Sorry.
Hall, and I think you said votes in favour of Rachel Burgess. None.
That's correct. Lindsay Ferris.
No votes in favour on this one.
Andy Croy.
4 votes in favour of Rachel.
Richard Dolinsky.
No votes in favour.
And the second nominee is David Hare. If I take John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
No votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
1 vote in favour.
And the third nominee is Graham Howe. Councillor John Halsall.
31 votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 against.
Andy Croy.
No votes in favour.
Richard Dolinsky.
1 vote in favour.
Does anyone disagree with their group leaders? Graham Howe is nominated.
Sorry. We now move to item 13, appointments to outside bodies. We intend to agree to nominate.
Sorry, I'd like to declare an interest.
Yes, who's speaking, please?
Yes, Councillor G, I'd like to declare an interest, which is that I am trustee for Woking Town Council on citizens' advice. So I would like to, I can't have my vote counted, I don't think, on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Get on with it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Appendix 3, John Halsall will be replacing John Kaiser as one of the Conservative nominations for the LGA, Local Government Organisation, General Assembly. And Paul Fishwick has been nominated by the Lib Dem group for the Mid and West Berks Local Countryside Access Forum. As the forum is now contested, it will need to be voted on separately and will therefore be added to the list of highlighted appointments.
Andy Croy's got his hands up.
Hello? Councillor Croy, I understand you want to speak?
When we come on to agenda item 13, I want to speak on that, please.
Okay. Okay, no, we're there. Would you like to speak now then, please?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Malcolm. It's just a comment, really, that prior to this, in the interest of saving time, there was some discussion between the group leaders, and I think the understanding was that in order to save time, we would try and make some effort to allocate councillors as groups to the roles in which they were best suited, and that would achieve two things. It would reduce the number of nominated competitions, but it would also it would reduce the length of the council meeting, but it would also actually make sure we had a much better fit between individual councillors and the outside bodies. Now, as it happened, none of the requests that the Labour group put forward were accepted. What we've done, we put through a deliberately small list because we did not want a lot of contested elections. We're very mindful of the need to sort of make this go quickly, and it was disappointing when not a single one of our recommendations was elected. And I can think of a couple. The Woodley Town Centre Management Initiative. Woodley Town Centre has got 3 borough councillors for the Labour group, and not a single one of us is likely to get elected. We've got Shirley, who's got like a link to the Waterside Centre going back decades. She lives 2 yards down the road from it. There's not a chance of her being elected, and it is disappointing. I'm not going to talk about some of the nominations, which are just wholly inappropriate. Members are clearly out of their depths. We're doing them a disfavour, and we're doing residents a disfavour, and we are representing ourselves badly in these other organisations. And it's such a shame that we're doing this, and I wish the other leaders and John in particular had actually been a little bit more mindful of trying to put quality councillors in the right organisations rather than some of the mistakes that we will make this evening. Thank you.
I understand that Councillor Chris Smith would like to speak. He's raised his hand. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whilst I recognise Councillor Croy's comments, I'd like to specifically comment about the Woking Waterside Centre and Councillor Boyd's nomination there. In terms of the Waterside Centre, in the last 2 to 3 months, I have been spending an awful lot of time working with the other trustees and with the management there, dealing with the financial implications of COVID-19, including helping them set up cash flows analysis, apply for loans, work out other grants and other potential sources of income. And therefore, I just view that this year, as we are nowhere near the end of this crisis, I have been so involved in this for such a period of time that I do not want to step away. I think stepping away would do more harm than good to the Woking Waterside Centre. Thank you.
And Councillor Richard Dolinsky, I understand you'd like to speak as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did actually have conversations with the leader of the Conservative group, and I did also raise it with the Liberal group, where we had concerns about a certain councillors being put forward that did not fit, were not a good fit for some of these outside bodies. So I'd like to say that we did actually challenge some of the nominees that have come forward as well.
Okay, thank you. We're very conscious of the time here. We need to move on, but your comments will be noted.
Malcolm, can I just say that I received the comments from Richard, and I did have a reasonably long conversation with John Horsell on it. There was some changes as a result, but I don't think we've got everything sorted.
Okay, thank you. So if we now proceed with the next part of item 13. Just a moment. Hello, Mike. to agree the nominations in Appendix 3 which are not contested. As these appointments are uncontested, I'm assuming that all members are in agreement with the proposals, and if anyone is not in agreement with them in Appendix 3, would they please like to let me know now?
Malcolm, we're going to oppose them.
Okay, so that's duly noted.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Come back, Malcolm.
Okay, apparently I neglected to say agreed. I should have said agreed. I have to get message. Okay, I'll now pass over to Susan, the Chief Executive, to handle the appointments.
So in terms of the Thank you. So in terms of the contested positions, what I'll do is take the process that I did before, and that is that I will read out the nominees in alphabetical order and ask each leader for their vote, and then whether anyone disagrees with their group leaders. So if I take the first position or organisation, so there is one member for the Berkshire Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust, and the first nominee is Jenny Cheng. And if I ask John Halsall, please, in terms of votes.
31 in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
0 in favour.
Andy Croy.
No votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
No votes.
And the second nominee is Andy Croy. John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
No votes.
Andy Croy.
4 votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
1 vote.
And thank you. The third nominee is David Hare. John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
No votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
2 votes in favour.
Does anyone disagree with their group leaders? So Jenny Cheng is appointed. The Citizens Advice Bureau, first nominee, Jenny Cheng.
31.
John Halsall.
31 votes.
Thank you. Lindsay Ferris.
0 votes.
Andy Croy.
Absolutely not. No votes at all.
Richard Dolinsky.
0 votes.
If I move on to the second nominee, that's Sarah Kerr.
No
John
votes.
Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
14 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
4 votes in favour.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 votes in favour.
Does anybody disagree with the group leaders?
I just want it's Councillor G. I just want to clarify that Lindsay's 14 votes means that I didn't get a vote and there's not an omission anywhere else.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Correct.
So does any...
Thank you.
So one
Thank
out,
you.
one declared non-vote by Councillor G.
Thank you. Does anybody disagree with their group leaders? Thank you. So Jenny Chang is appointed. In terms of the Local Governments Association, we have 4 members for nomination. So if I take the first nominee, Andy Croy, John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
0 votes.
Andy Croy.
4 votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 votes in favour.
The second nominee, Charlotte Haytham Taylor. John Halsall.
31 votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
No votes.
Andy Croy.
No votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 votes in favour.
And the third nominee is John Halsall. And John Halsall.
31 votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
No votes.
Andy Croy.
Sorry, John, no votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
I'm going to say 3 votes in favour, but I might be challenged by my independent colleagues because this is a late change.
Thank you. The fourth nominee is Stuart Munro. John Halsall.
31 votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
No votes.
Andy Croy.
No votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 votes in favour.
And the fifth nominee is Rochelle Shepherd-Debay. John Halsall.
31 votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
No votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
No votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
No votes.
Thank you. Does anybody disagree with their group leaders? So the 4 appointed are Charlotte Haytham Taylor, Stuart Munro, John Halsall and Rochelle Shepherd-Debay. If I go on now to the Royal Berks Hospital Foundation Trust, and the first nominee is Parry Bath and John Halsall.
31 votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
0 votes.
Andy Croy.
No votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
No votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
No votes. No
Richard
votes.
Dolinsky.
No votes.
No vote. Sorry, I didn't hear. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Sorry. The second nominee is Andy Croy and Councillor John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes.
Andy Croy.
4 votes.
Richard Dolinsky.
1 vote.
The third nominee is Adrian Mather. John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
Might have made a mistake. 15 votes.
Andy Croy.
None for Adrian, I'm afraid.
Richard Dolinsky.
1 vote
Anyone disagree with their leaders? Parry Bath is appointed. Move on to South East Employers, 2 members. First nominee, Andy Croy. John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
Sorry, can you, I just missed that. Which one are we on now?
We're on the South East Employers.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
Sorry, this is 4 votes in favour of me, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, 4 votes.
Richard Delinsky.
No votes.
Okay, so the second nominee is Carl Duran. John Halsall.
No votes. No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Croy.
4 votes in favour of Carl.
Richard Delinsky.
No votes.
Okay, the third nominee is John Kaiser. John Halsall.
31 votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
No votes.
Andy Croy.
Neil Poir from the Labour Group.
Richard Delinsky.
3 votes in favour.
The fourth nominee, Stuart Monroe. John Halsall.
31 votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
0 votes.
Andy Croy.
No votes.
Richard Delinsky.
3 votes in favour.
Does anyone disagree with their group leaders? John Kaiser and Stuart Monroe are nominated. South East Reserves Forces and Cadets Association. First nominee, Carl Duran. John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
4 votes in favour.
Richard Delinsky.
2 votes in favour.
The second nominee is Angus Ross. John Halsall.
31 votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
0 votes.
Andy Croy. Sorry.
Andy
Croy.
Votes. No votes in favour.
Richard Delinsky.
1 vote in favour.
Does anybody disagree with their group leaders? Angus Ross appointed. Wickingham Waterside Centre. First nominee Shirley Boyt. John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
4 votes in favour.
Richard Delinsky.
1 vote in favour.
Second nominee Chris Smith. John Halsall.
31 votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
0 votes.
Andy Croy.
No votes in favour.
Richard Delinsky.
2 votes in favour.
Anyone disagree with their group leader? Chris Town Centre Manager. First nominee Shirley Boyt. John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
4 votes in favour.
Richard Delinsky.
2 votes in favour.
Jenny, John Halsall.
Sorry, can you say that again, Susan, please?
The second nominee is Jenny Cheng.
31 votes.
Councillor Halsall.
31 votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
0 votes. 0.
Andy Croy.
No votes for Jenny, I'm
Andy
afraid.
Croy.
No votes for Jenny.
Thank you. Richard Dolinsky.
No votes for Jenny.
Third nominee, Carl Duran. John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
4 votes for Carl.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 for Carl.
Fourth nominee is Bill Soane. John Halsall.
31 votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
0 votes.
Andy Croy.
No votes for Bill, I'm afraid.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 votes for Bill.
Does anyone disagree with their group leaders? Two members appointed are Jenny Cheng and Bill Soane. If I go to the substitutes, the first nominee is Andy Croy. John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy Croy.
4 votes in favour.
Richard Dolinsky.
2 in favour.
Second nominee is Abdul Lois. Councillor John Halsall.
31 votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
0 votes.
Andy Croy.
4 votes against.
Richard Dolinsky.
1 vote in favour.
Does anyone disagree with their group leaders? Abdul Lois is appointed. The final organisation is Mid and West Berks Local Countryside Access Forum. And we have 2 nominees. Paul Fishwick is the first nominee. John Halsall.
No votes.
Lindsay Ferris.
15 votes in favour.
Andy.
4 votes in favour.
Richard Dolinsky.
3 votes in favour.
The second nominee is Angus Ross. John Halsall.
31 votes in favour.
Lindsay Ferris.
0 votes.
Andy Croy.
4 no votes in favour.
Richard Dolinsky.
0 votes.
Anyone disagree with their group leaders? Angus Ross is appointed.
Right, next item is outcome of code of conduct. Would someone like to propose and second this, please?
Yes, I'd like to propose it, please. John Kaiser.
Okay.
Preparing
I
second.
You are
May I
seconding.
second, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Baring, thank you.
Thank you.
I have to advise you, in accordance with Procedure Rule 9.1.16.3, there will be no discussion on this item. I assume that everyone is in agreement with noting the report. If anyone disagrees with or wishes to abstain, they should let me know now.
I couldn't hear when you went through. I was actually prepared to second, but somebody else seconded, but I didn't hear who it was.
Yes, Councillor Kaiser proposed and Chris Bowring seconded.
Okay.
I then advised that there would be no discussion on the item, and we should therefore be going on to the vote. And I assume that everyone is in agreement with, with noting the report rather than voting. If anyone disagrees with or wishes to abstain, they should let me know now. no one has come back to me, so I can report that it has been noted.
Malcolm, you're on mute. Malcolm, you're on mute.
I mute it and then it all comes back again afterwards. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's it for the end of the council meeting, but I wish to remind members that after this council meeting, there will be a number of overview and scrutiny committee meetings, which those who are on the committee will know about, where the plan is to elect the chairman and vice chairman of those committees. So watch this space, or don't go away, or whatever the appropriate expression is. But at this point, that is the end of the meeting. Almost end of the meeting, but let me say, this was my first meeting. I don't think I did too badly. Please forgive me for the gaps. It's a learning curve. And now I can say it's the end of the meeting.
You've done very well.
Yep.
Councillor Gary Cowney, I'd like to sum it up. I think you did very well. And eat your heart out, Eurovision Song Contest. Conservatives, 10 points. Everybody else at 0 points. Good night.
Cheers, Gary. Well done, Malcolm.
Good night, you all.
Good night from him.
Well done, Malcolm.
Yep, 2 minutes to spare. Brilliant timing.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.